Hey everyone, so today we're working on Damon's car. We're going to do the FORGE MK7 twin intercooler setup. So this is what it looks like. Upgraded silicone hoses, clamps, and an intercooler on a Mark 7, which is, I think, is habanero orange. That's Damon. He's our guest star today. So we're going to be installing this on the car, on the Mark 7. And one thing that we recommend is when you jack these cars up, make sure you guys use the control arm bolt area. It's about like, how can I say, it's right underneath it. You can see the 18 mil bolt. Put your control, your jack stands underneath that. That way you guys don't have any issues with bending anything when you jack these cars up. On both sides, make sure you break loose your wheels, because the first thing we're going to do is remove the belly pan. We'll show you that. So if you guys can see down here in the belly pan, you see a bunch of torxes here. Up in front, you'll see quite a few as well. Just take the ones that require the main skid plate underneath the pan to come off. We don't need actually to take all of them off. The other ones will come off with the bumper, and we'll show you guys how to take the bumper off after this. But just pay attention to the bolts that I'm pointing at. It's going to be the same on both sides. The reason we have to take the wheels off, because you do have fender liner bolts that need to come off that also align the bumper. I'll show you guys that. Right here. Let's see, there's a couple torxes here. You're gonna need those to help remove the bumper. Same on both sides. Up here on top, you're going to need to loosen this bar here. Take these screws off. That'll get the process started for removing the front end. And then we'll show you guys actually how to remove the front end, but just giving you a general idea of what you guys need to do. So pretty much we're going to need a T25 here. And then the ones on top of this brace right here are T30 Torx bits. The one big thing is you're going to need to just remove all of them. Don't try to like take off some of them. Just remove them all off. Right now Damon is removing the fender liner ones, which are T25 Torx bits. Just remove them, set them aside, because we're not going to need them for a while. To remove the grill, pretty much you're going to pull up right here inside the honeycomb, and then just try to pull up and slide it out. Just make sure there's nothing really catching it. So pull up and pull straight out, which will allow you to remove the grill up in front. And then this will show more of the bumper torxes that are on here. There should be one here, and right here in the middle. Those three are going to probably be your main bumper bolts here. And Damon is still taking off the ones on the fender liner, so don't forget that, guys, because if not, that bumper won't slide off. And the skid plate one as well. Here, you'll notice the fender, this half of the fender liner will drop. And once you take all the screws off, it just comes right off. If you look up right here, there's one more bolt that holds the bumper in place. You see down here, we took out already the belly pan. Simple couple of bolt screws. Fender liner, same thing on both sides. And then the one up top. This will allow the bumper just to come right off. The one thing we need to pay attention to though is the wiring for the headlights, for the fog lights actually, before we take this bumper completely off. So we're going to have to look for these wires that go to these lights here on the bottom left and right. So Damon, don't take the screw out, just to be safe.
It's held up.
Right here, down in the bottom left right now, for the fog light, this is the wire for the fog light. It's just a little push button, slides out, you're done. Just get that out of the way. Do the same thing on the right. Here's the horn that we're going to need to relocate soon. Once the bumper comes off, we'll show you guys how that works. So with all the screws off, this bumper should just slide right out. So we're going to give it a try. Nope, not sliding. Is
that all of it?
That's everything.
Oh, it's clipped in.
Should pull it just straight forward. Yeah, you gotta pull out.
Wait. It's locked by something. Oh, there's two more clips, two more screws.
Where are they?
Right in the middle.
Alright, so like you heard them, two more screws down below in the middle. So we missed a couple screws.
There. Oops.
Now let's try this again. Go for it.
There she blows, Captain.
There's the bumper, everybody. That takes it right off.
She's naked. Got her bra off.
Yep. So now the next part is to make sure that the fitment of your intercooler is supposed to be, you know, correct. So I know that Forge tests all of the stuff. So we just need to confirm it.
I believe we need to remove these plastic things first.
Okay. So the next part will have to be removing these little air ducts, pretty much for allowing, looks like the flow of air to be more efficient. They're going to be going out of the way because the intercooler takes its place pretty much.
They look clipped in. Yep.
And these are all clipped in. Right here you're going to need a flathead, actually. Clip. And then there's another clip right here at the bottom. And you yank these suckers out. Same process on both sides. So pretty much we started mocking up the intercooler. You do have to bend the bracket on the right side a little bit so this can actually sit flush. Right now it's not sitting flush because we're just holding it with the jack stand. We're just using it to make sure that the actual intercooler is centered. The next part of the process is you're gonna need to remove the horn, because the horns are gonna be in the way now. So that's the next step you guys got to do. You're gonna need a triple square, probably look like a a 10 on both sides. Once you have this mocked up actually properly with your friend, make sure you hold it against the bumper and make sure the intercooler is straight down, and then mark it. They give you 2 holes. Just use a nice Sharpie and mark the location. That way you guys are pretty much on the right spot. This is the side that we had to bend out a little bit so the actual intercooler can sit more flush against here. But remember guys, you want to make sure that this sits straight up, not at an angle like this. We're not going to mount it like this, we're just using it as a mock-up. And then this is the other horn you need to remove, because the new hoses are going to be going in this direction, so they are in the way. We'll show you guys how to relocate those in a little bit. Inside the front bumper, you are going to have to remove these little ducts or grill covers here, because the new intercooler will be in the way of it. And these looks like they just pull right out, nothing really special. So one thing that we had to figure out was taking out the horn bracket and remounting it with the new bracket. So it is a triple square 10 to remove the actual bolt from it. What you're going to do is you're going to completely forget about the bracket that comes from the OEM. Use the little brackets they provide you from Forge. You're going to have to bend them a little bit, but you can see right here we mounted the bracket on the opposite side. Put the horn on here a little loose so you guys can find the right angle. Once you guys figure it out, bend this out a little bit so it gives you a little access to the 10mm that actually holds the horn on the bracket. Line it up, tighten down the bracket down below, and then tighten this one down, and you're good to go. Everything clears. That's going to be on the left side. On the right, very similar, except for this side actually has a hole where you can actually mount the horn in reverse. Looks like they take the bracket off. They mounted the bracket on the other side, put the horn on here, and then just tuck the wire in. You guys can see that, and just tighten everything back down. There's going to be no torque specs for this, just nice and tight. Make sure you don't strip any of the bolts or the nuts, just get it on there nice and tight, and you should be fine. It doesn't look very difficult. The next thing is, before you even mount this, there is a temperature sensor. All you do is pull it out and bend the bracket up. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we bent the bracket just away, so that way the intercooler just mounts up. No cutting required. So the next step, guys, is to take off your factory hoses on both sides. Pretty simple. Clamp, clamp, yank out. Same on the other side. Clamp, clamp, and then yank it out. We're gonna actually test fit the new Forge ones first before we actually mock up the alignment holes on the intercooler. The reason for this, because sometimes these hoses can be made a little bit longer, or they could be like a manufacturer like process glitch. You never know. Even with high-end manufacturers, you can get some defective parts. So we want to make sure these mock up really nice before we actually full on bolt this on. All right, guys. So another issue we just came across, and this is why we always recommend you guys always do a mock-up before test fitment before you actually bolt everything down. Now the issue that we have here on the secondary air injection pump, this little bracket here, you're gonna have to bend it back so it doesn't rub on the piping. Simple fix, just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. Okay, if you guys can see this, so when you bend this back, we use some vice grips and just bend the crap out of it back. You're gonna shorten technically the wire here because it's now in a different location. So grab a set of little zip ties and zip ties the wiring right here so it doesn't move or get out of the way. Just a preventative measure, guys. Okay. But once you bend that back, this should be perfect, and now the intercooler piping won't rub anymore. There you go. So you guys can see that now the new, well, moving the bracket out of the way right here, this one we bent back clears it, so now this is not touching. You're gonna have a little bit of touching with the secondary air pump, but it's gonna be rubbing on plastic, so I think you guys will be okay. If you guys are concerned about it, bend the bracket, bend the actual secondary air pump bracket just a little bit away from it. Allow more space between the piping and the hose here. But now, since everything's mocked up, gotta double check your alignment now before you start making markings for your alignment on the intercooler. So after mocking up the intercooler, we actually had to make a quick hole to line it up a little bit better. So we drilled the hole in the bottom ones on each side to get the mock up a little bit more straight for us. But pretty much, remember guys, like I said before, bend the bracket on the right side first. This will allow you to get it nice and flush on this side of the intercooler, which is on the left side. Mark everything where it's supposed to go. Make a quick small hole to give yourself a marking, or use like a light color Sharpie, and it'll get you where you need to go. Get your hoses back on. Take them off actually, and then get your clamps. Use the provided clamps. Don't use the factory ones anymore. And then once you get those back on there, we're going to show you where to mount the last piece that you guys need to put back on, which is the temperature sensor. And that's it. And then just reverse the process of putting the bumper back on, and you guys are good to go. You guys got a new twin intercooler installed. So now that we got all the clamps on place, they give you ridiculously long clamps, just so you guys know. You guys are going to be screwing away for a while. Make sure you just apply a good pressure onto the hose and then clamp it down. The bracket for the air intake temperature right here, or the outside air temperature, I believe is what this one's called. They give you a spot to mount it here, just so you guys know. Make sure that all the hoses are kind of like, you know, perpendicular, I guess you want to call it, from each other. No angles, because what happens at an angle, it'll pinch it and create like a boost leak or a vacuum leak. So these are all done pretty dang well, and they're all the way to the seam right here. They have a little seam here that allows you to stop the piping from going too far. The only one that I didn't like very much is the fitment on the right side of the intercooler. This hose for some reason buckles a bit. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
It's designed that way for some reason.
Yeah, I mean everything else on both sides were nice and round. This one's just a little weird. It looks like a little more square instead of like solid round like all the other ones. I mean, it might be just built that way, I don't know. But there you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. And remember to reverse the process on your install on the front bumper. It's pretty straightforward from that. If you guys can take it off, you can put it back on.
Give me a fat